his representative, to be him fully expressed. That's the Father's will. What a blessing that is for everyone and everything. And those who have commitment to doing that become healers. But you know what? Being healers, being a healer is the furthest thing from their mind, because they're consumed with the experience of truth and rejoicing in it and being in the peace of it as they engage in whatever they do during the day. You see? The desire to be a healing presence is excellent. I am not putting that down, but you must understand what it means to be a healing presence and what it takes to be a healing presence. And the last thing it takes is a picture of you extending healing to a picture of a world you have that needs healing. What is truly healing is to be coming from that place where a picture of you being anything disappears and a picture of the world needing healing disappears, because you are preoccupied with and humbly present with the conscious experience of the divinity of everything, because that's what you said you wanted to experience, because you didn't want to be experiencing a conflicted mind. So let the desire abide with you. Don't think I said to kick it out, but just attend to what it really takes, knowing what it doesn't involve, so that you don't stumble awkwardly because you hadn't turned in the direction and taken the steps necessary to actually accomplish your desire. Okay.
The next question is from Craig. Raj and Paul, I am deeply grateful for your gifts. About 5 years ago, I began to awaken and have since had many profound spiritual experiences. But lately, they seem to be mainly deep feelings of connectedness and peace when I meditate, but no specifically definable guidance or out-of-the-box experiences. From your vantage point, am I close to moving past the next fence, quote unquote, and seeing my life changes as I believe it will? What advice is appropriate for me at this time?
It has been an integration time. A time in which you have been matured by prior insights and clarity. The rest period is almost over. I encourage you to enjoy whatever remains of the time out from the stretching and the expanding and the boundary breaking. You're doing, for lack of better words, just fine. Meaning that you have been on the beam and you haven't been resisting it. You've remained unconflicted about it. I will say this, when the movement starts, it will be quite a ride. Now, don't let your ego go wild with that. Quite a wonderful ride. Okay.
The next question is from Andriana. Hello, Raj. I am amazed that I have this opportunity to ask you a question directly. I seem to have been searching for truth for as long as I can remember, and now I believe it is possible to experience a sudden awakening. Is this going to happen to me, hopefully soon?
At any moment. Everyone, at every moment, stands on the threshold of breakthrough. There's nothing else to be standing at the edge of. I do encourage you, however, not to think of it as an ultimate, comprehensive, total awakening instantaneously. The reason being that it will only be as much as you will allow. It will only be as much as you think you can bear. Awakening isn't like a diploma that someone will put into your hand and voila, you are awake. You're not awake because you're choosing to occupy your mind with things that aren't true, with misinterpretations of reality. And there's some value and satisfaction that you experience from that. So, because it's not being withheld to you, and it's not a gift that can be handed to you on a silver platter, you don't have to worry about it being total and sudden. I have mentioned before that if it were to happen in a twinkling of an eye, your experience of yourself would change so significantly, so fast, that it would be like being changed from one person to another. And there would be no sense of continuity of identity. So, the other thing is that if you contemplate sudden, total awakening, that in itself brings up elements of fear. Will you be equal to it? Could you bear it? And you would bring an element of reluctance to it, which is not your conscious desire, but it would happen. So, since you in your right mind, you fully awake to and conscious of the truth, because that is your birthright, and it's not being withheld from you, you can let yourself be significantly open to it. Mind you, the process is a process of returning health. For you not to be experiencing it right now is a false limitation that we've referred to as insanity. So, your right mind, because it was never actually altered, just parts of it ignored, is constantly pressuring against your current limited level of awareness with the intent of reuniting the tiny part of yourself that you're acknowledging with the rest of yourself. So there is this twofold process occurring. You wanting to wake up, and the rest of your divine mind that you're ignoring pressing to have you experience it. You exist in a constant, dynamic, and intent of integration. That's the fact. So, desire it, and allow it to happen. Don't become willful or imagine that you can somehow willfully make it happen faster. The best way to make it happen fast is to get out of the way, to stop thinking, to stop being willful, to find your peace and be present with everything from there. There really is such a thing as sanity with a capital S that you're not experiencing at the moment. It's something you never lost, and so it's fully present and fully active, attempting to re-engage your attention and draw it away from the very tiny focus that you have given it. Waking up is reintegration. That's the end of the answer.
The next question is from Jackie. Would you talk about the great rays from the Course and about color?
And about what?
Color.
No, it is not yet time to talk about the great rays. Color. You are familiar with color being that which identifies the full spectrum of light. Now, what I have to say is not relative to what you call physical light, but the substance of everything, which is love. Love is light. And love is the substance of everything. Everything created is love rendered visible and identifiable. You would say as form, but I am going to leave it as recognizable. Now, color in reality is a communicator of meaning. And I have said this before, but I will repeat it. Color conveys meaning. It isn't just a pleasantness for the eye. And what colors are in place adjacent to each other, you would say, are like a code. And yet it isn't a learned thing. It isn't that there is a code to learn. I am simply meaning to convey that one color adjacent to another color has meaning in terms of communicating the meaning and function of the form that the color is identifying. You will find that as you become aware of the divine meaning of a thing, it will be a mental experience, I'm going to say a communication of meaning. I'm going to say in language, a communication of understanding the thing's meaning. At the same time, you will be experiencing that thing as being made of the substance of living love. And the meaning, experienced as a communication, an understanding, if you will also be conveyed through the spectrum of color. You will all recognize the visibility and tangibility of each other by virtue of colors, not by the shape of the head or the shape of the eyes or any other, quote, physical attributes. The colors will also have a pitch, if you will, a tone, a song. So you can begin to see that color will not stand alone apart from everything else as just a pleasant variation like the green leaves on the plant as opposed to the pink petals on the flower. The colors will convey the divine function set in place by God as God's idea took form as what you're observing. And its meaning will be conveyed through, and this is not a good choice of words, will be conveyed through what you could understand as different media of experience. Now, I encourage you to look at anything around you during the day, whether it's a wall or a tree or a toenail. And look at it with what I've just said in mind. I've said before that everything that you experience has the means of communicating to you its meaning if you will allow yourself to be quietly present with it, attentively, without bringing any preconceptions you have about that thing into the process, and desiring of it, that it communicate to you its meaning. So, now you can be aware that one of the things that you can consciously be open to having the experience of is the fact that color is one of the media through which the meaning will register with you. I encourage all of you to just abide with what I've said. Just contemplate it without thinking about it. Just be with it. Because that in itself, in the quietness of you, will serve as a trigger to an expanded awareness of what I've been sharing. There's absolutely nothing that confronts you at any moment that cannot serve as the bridge or the trigger to awakening. Remember that, so that you bring attention and curiosity to every moment you're in. Thank you for your question. We will take one more break and then have a final session for the day. 15 minutes.
We have a question from Sunrose. She asks, "Thank you for everything. From that conversation with the practitioner, I'm wondering what I'm not getting about oneness. What he said sounded more like nirvana and everyone melting into one blob, which I'm understanding you as saying that everything is both universal and individual/specific. Would you mind talking about what being universal is like?"
It It is to be intimately conscious of absolutely everything infinitely at the same time. I have used in the past the illustration of a diamond, or let us say a crystal ball that has facets all over the surface. If you imagine yourself as one of the facets and you view yourself as the outside plane of the facet, you are one of many facets encircling the ball. But if you turn around 180 degrees and see yourself as the interior side of the facet, you find that you are part of the whole substance of the interior of the crystal ball. And where, when you were looking at it from the outside view, there were hundreds of facets different from you, now from the interior view, they are hundreds of facets that are part of you, that you are linked with, connected with, inseparable from. And so they are all part of you, and you are all part of them. That's the closest I can come to conveying this to you. It is, again, to have an intimate, thorough, all-inclusive relationship with and conscious experience of absolutely everything universally, infinitely. Every aspect of creation, which of course is every aspect of God. It is an experience of oneness without the loss of identity. You could say you have now two experiences of identity. One is the whole. Every aspect of it is some part of the infinitude of you. While at the same time, you are a specific facet. God, infinitely individualized, without ever having become divided in the process, constitutes every single facet individually, and just as God has not become divided in the infinite individualizing of himself, each individual expression is not separate from or divided from every other individual expression. In waking up, it is as though you shift from the identification with the exterior plane of the facet that is you to the interior plane. That's all. And when you wake up, you don't become preoccupied